ULI just released their emerging trends report for 2022, including top markets and what they think is going to happen. So we'll dive into that a little bit here in a bit. But Nathan, what are your thoughts on Nashville in 2022?
I'm as bullish as I've ever been about a place. We have the benefit in 2022 of being a year back from the election. We're on the upswing from a pandemic, and we don't show any signs of slowing down. I was at the National Association of Realtors conference until yesterday, actually, and I was talking to Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, and I cornered him in an elevator because that's how I get most of my work done these days. And I asked him what he thought about Nashville, and his eyebrows went up. He's like, "Oh, Nashville, that's a great city." I said, "I know that. I live there, but what do you think?"
Yeah.
And he said that he thinks that we have a little bit of a glut of apartment building. I agree with that. I said, but I think that's probably going to shift things in another direction. He said, absolutely. And so what does that do? I think it probably forces incoming folks from all of the announcements that Nashville's gotten to move into other kinds of housing. And what does that do to the commercial world? Well, I think it probably has incubated a great number of office and retail concepts that have yet to be explored in Nashville. And so I expect 2022 to be a pretty exciting year, especially in the commercial world in Nashville.
Let's unpack that a little bit. That's interesting that you say that because, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, Nashville had another glut of apartment building, overbuilding.
Yeah.
And everybody was saying back then, we've overbuilt, the market's going to crash for multifamily, but it did almost the exact opposite. It was like these apartment developers actually knew what they were doing. Maybe they overbuilt for that year, but the following year, Nashville had the fastest lease up in the country in terms of multifamily.
I didn't know that. That's exciting.
It was 2017, so that's kind of when Nashville really took off. So what do you think people are going to start looking at? Do you think that apartments have gotten so expensive they're going to start saying, oh, actually a mortgage is relatively affordable?
I don't think they've got a lot of choice. There's going to be a moment in time where there is a glut of apartments, and so the cost of living in an apartment will go down, but will it go down substantially enough to move the needle when interest rates, at least the Fed has indicated that interest rates are going to stay the same through about the middle of next year? Will the Fed increase rates next year? Yeah. I don't know that they've got a whole lot of choices right now. I do think Jerome Powell has done a pretty good job this year of managing an impossible set of circumstances, and the world can decide if they agree with me on that or not. But I think that they have to, at some point, look at the market conditions and decide that inflation is a thing. They know that, but they were hoping that the market could correct itself. I think the market is mostly capable of that, but we're living in a time of exacerbated conditions. And so the market can only handle so much of that themselves.
Right.
We have to adjust those rates ever so slightly. When people see those rates going up, that's when things are going to change. And so that's kind of an interesting moment where we all black out. We faded to black.
Yeah, we lost the camera for some reason, but we've got this other one.
That's okay. So what happens? I think that the interest rates are going to go up ever so slightly, and that's gonna spook, for our folks in Texas. That's going to spook people that are nearing the ends of leases or about to begin leases into finally taking action on residential loans. The reason that that's important from a commercial perspective is banks are making decisions based on their ability to hold loans on the books. And they got nervous during the pandemic that they were going to be forced to sort of start putting things into REO again. That didn't happen because we all knew it wasn't going to happen, but the banks didn't because the sky is always falling. But what they will start to see is when people start applying, when new applications for mortgages go up, what they're going to start feeling is bullish about commercial lending as well. It's an indicator that more people are asset rich and are capable of satisfying commercial notes. And so I think that that's going to be a really positive trend commercially in 2022 and extending for the next 3 to 5 years, I think.